Hello, I'm Nicolette Lemon. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about cross-selling. Have you completed a cross-selling training program with your staff, but not sure how to take it to the next level and make a difference in increasing relationships and revenue? Has your sales culture failed to reach your expectations? And do you want to implement a sales culture, yet not sure where to start? Are any of these three things something that your credit union is right now in the throes of deciding what to do? Well, do you know the 3 pitfalls to avoid and 3 tips to use today? I'd like to talk to you about these because I think it's really important in any cross-selling training to make sure that you are aware of what you are doing, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and that's why we've developed our cross-selling webinar series training programs to make sure that you have that opportunity to get away from the pitfalls, make sure you're really enhancing your program the way you want it. How about the first one, not setting realistic goals? The reason that this is one of the pitfalls to avoid is that very often when going in and launching a cross-selling culture, the idea is that you really want to make strides. You really want to make sure everybody has a loan that walks out the door, or that has made sure to have that checking account and not just a savings account when they have joined the credit union. Well, it's great to be able to do that, but one of the major things about it is if the goals aren't realistic about what percentage you usually do convince people to take out the checking account on their first trip to the credit union when they join, or looking at what kinds of members you are offering loans to and what percentages that you really have of those that apply, those that are approved, and those that really fund. Because if you're not looking at some of those numbers and really understanding what your baseline is, you can set unrealistic goals which really undermines any of the staff's enthusiasm for the cross-selling. You might also have a lack of competitive information. One of the things that's so important in making sure to jumpstart your cross-selling sales culture is to make sure that your staff members, your front line, really believes that you have the best offer, the best deal for your members. Because if you don't, they're not going to be as confident, they're not going to be as willing to suggest other opportunities for the member to build their relationship with you. So really understanding, because the first time a member throws back that credit union X or bank Y has this and this and this, and it really may not be accurate as well. So if your staff member knows, because they have that competitive information, they'll be more confident to discuss it with the member rather than saying, oh, okay, well, thank you, and letting that objection go. And the third pitfall is the failure to coach staff effectively. Coaching is so important in any kind of behavior change. And if you don't have the managers and supervisors who are really trying to help those frontline staff to change their behavior from a real service culture to maybe it's a hybrid cross-selling and service culture, or really a sales culture, you will have a very difficult time, because the coaches are the ones that step in and really help get over those objections from members, help your staff members to more effectively take the training and apply it, and also to champion them when they have actually done the right thing. So those are 3 pitfalls to avoid. Well, we also have 3 tips for you to use today. One of the first things is nonverbal communication for the stressed member. One of the most important things when members are stressed, and a lot of them are when they come in, because, and as I was told when I was working in the credit union, it was all about how members are very fearful about their money. They don't want anything to go wrong, so they may come in okay, but if they feel that there's anything amiss with their money, it can quickly escalate because of their own stress level and also because it's about their money. Well, with that in mind, the nonverbal communication for your staff member is really important to set them at ease. One of the first things is that they are sitting up erect and also making sure that they are not sitting with their arms crossed, that they are open and appealing, that they also show their hands in a very nice open gesture to set the member at ease. Simple technique, but it does help to start helping that member from the very stressful situation to calm down as well. Simple nonverbal communication, because we read that more than anything else. And what about the right thing to say to start the conversation? Part of what I find is your frontline doesn't really know, they weren't schooled for selling. So they go through the training, and that's fine, but it isn't a habit. And what I find to make it an easy habit is to make it really short and sweet. So I always say, if you want to start opening a conversation with a member about a new product or service, always say either, how would you like to save money today? Or, how would you like to see if we can make you more money today? Save money, make money. Those are two simple ways to open up the conversation with a member. And finally, the third tip today is how to cross-sell to a man versus a woman. Pretty simple in the sense that gender dictates that men are really about winning. They really want to win, and they love competition in that way. Women, on the other hand, really like to know that the team is doing well, and they like to know all the details. So how to cross-sell to a man is really to give them short and sweet how they will win. You can save them, what that lower interest rate can save them, what the promotion is today, that they can win some sort of bonus or reward. And on the flip side, for a woman, be prepared to answer a lot of the detail questions. Well, how am I going to save that money is usually what will come back. Or how do I get that? What do I have to do for it? And be ready to walk her through that. The man may very often go, sure. And the woman will say, well, how do I do that? And what's involved? She'll want the details. So making sure that your frontline understands the difference in cross-selling to a man versus a woman. Well, how does this really make sense? So where do you start for cross-selling success? That's one of the things that we focus on in our webinars. And the reason being, we find that there are best practices that can help you right away. So each one of our webinars is structured to make sure that you have the best practices to be able to employ them right away, see if they make sense. Because very often there's nothing super new about cross-selling, because it really is about selling, sales culture. But there are some best practices that work better in credit unions than in other situations. So the first webinar in the series is the 5 best practices to develop your cross-selling culture. And then we follow that up with a webinar on the 4 techniques for cross-selling the stressed member. So just as I mentioned before, great tips to use right away. We'll talk about the pitfalls, but we'll also talk about the tips in each one of these webinars. The next webinar is then 10 ways to motivate your female staff to cross-sell. There is a difference between men and women, as I mentioned, in terms of cross-selling, but it's also about the fact that the majority of credit unions have a higher percentage of female staff members, which causes a different kind of interface with how they consider selling and what they think selling means to them, and how we tell you how you can actually help them to be better cross-selling candidates. And then the final webinar in the series is about the 3 techniques to generate more revenue with every cross-sell. So we give you all the tips we can in each one of these webinars. They're an hour long, just shy of an hour, each one of them. And the idea there is that if, particularly when you buy the series, or even if you just buy one of the webinars, is that you will be given access to it for 90 days afterwards. So if you can't make it on the day that we actually hold the webinar, you can always review it later, or look at it again later with one of your staff members if there's somebody that you would like to hear more about the cross-selling. Maybe it's a trainer, maybe it's someone else in the supervisor, manager. So just remembering that you do get 90 days afterwards as well to be able to watch it again. And we also send the PDF of the slides so you can review them as well as we go through it. It's easy to sign up. All you do is click over to cumarketinguniversity.com. Since 2003, we've been providing programs for marketing and training people on a variety of topics. One of the things right now that we have just finished is the Cross-Sell Coach series, and you can review that as well. It's available online, and that covers 4 different webinars of information across a variety of coaching issues that you will find, and especially if your managers or your supervisors haven't had a lot of management training. They're really great webinars to listen to for those tips that help them manage your front line even better in your sales culture. So remember, it's easy to go sign up. Just head on over to cumarketinguniversity.com.